Hello everyone, my name is PaperNapkin and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Final Fantasy 1. In the last episode we came over to Elfland where we found out that the elf prince was put to sleep by an evil curse. The only way we can wake him up is if we find some herbs, which we know Matoya has, but she won't give them to us just yet. We need to find her crystal ball. We went and visited the dwarves, but they didn't really have any information pertaining to the crystal ball's location, so the only place we can really look now is the spooky castle to the northwest. So if you leave Elfland and head to the west first, you'll come across a little bunch of forest here that's actually filled with a lot of ogres. If you're looking to grind on them, this is definitely the place to be. But just head this way. And actually, now that my fighter has the hit percentage of 32 and I'm getting that second hit in, I'm doing some crazy amounts of damage now. So it's making those battles a lot easier. If you come this way, around those lakes, you'll eventually reach the spooky castle. Welcome to the Northwest Castle, and as you can see, there's not a whole lot going on here. There are a couple bats flying around. There's actually only 2 rooms in here. The one on the left is filled with treasure, but surprise surprise, we can't get to it just yet. We need that certain key item in order to open it up, but it's kind of been the recurring theme of this game, so why am I not surprised? I do promise you we will eventually come back to pick it up, because there are some pretty good items to get in all these treasure chests that we're missing. Some of them not so much, but there are definitely a few that we will want to pick up. For the time being though, come up to this central room, talk to this man here. He'll mention how Astos double-crossed us, and when he says us, I'm assuming him and the other elves, and he wants us to go to the Cave of the Marsh to retrieve his stolen crown. Since we don't really know where to go to find Matoya's crystal, we might as well lend him a hand, because hey, you never know. If we bring him back his crown, he might be able to point us in the direction that we need to go. I will mention at this point, the Cave of the Marsh is probably one of the hardest dungeons in this game, at least relative to our level, just because it's a lot longer than anything we've come across so far, and there are a lot of enemies in there. A lot of them are hard hitting, do some pretty sweet damage to us, and if you're not prepared, if you don't have the right equipment, you're not at a high enough level, you will not make it out alive. You'll probably be able to make it down to where the crown is, but you just won't have enough cure charges. Even if you stock up on a lot of heal potions, you probably won't have enough, and you just won't make it out alive, which is kind of frustrating. There are some things you can do to ensure it's a lot easier than it should be. Mainly make sure your equipment is up to date, and maybe do a little bit of grinding just to get up a couple more levels. I'm going to go over to Elfland. I'm going to go over all the different equipment that you want to pick up, go over the stuff that you kind of want to avoid at this point, and then we'll go from there. Now that we're back in Elfland, let's check out all the different shops to see what kind of equipment and spells we can get to make the Cave of the Marsh that much easier. First off, you want to go to the weapon shop. There are some pretty big upgrades here that you want to make. Mainly, you want to pick up silver swords for both your fighter and your red mage. This weapon is incredible and I just can't even stop oogling it. You want to pick one of these up, at least one of them if you have a fighter. And it's so overpowered that in the Dawn of Souls remake, they actually made it so you can't buy the sword anymore. It's that good. The damage you'll get with this thing is incredible, especially when you start getting in multiple hits, which my fighter is now doing, so definitely pick one of those up. Or if you have another fighter, or if you have red mage, pick one up for them as well. If you have a thief, saber is the way to go. It's a slight upgrade over the scimitar, but really any increase in damage at this point is going to be huge, just because we're not really doing a whole lot. So definitely pick up one of those. If you have a black mage, you have a choice between the iron staff and the large knife. Like before, iron staff does more damage, but the large knife has a higher hit percentage. Since we're kind of at that cusp level where a couple hit percentage can make the difference between an extra hit, I tend to go for the large knife. And lastly, if you have a black belt, you want to pick up the iron nunchucks, just because the black belt hasn't had an upgrade in weapons since the beginning of the game, rather. So yeah, definitely an upgrade there. Next up, I think let's go to the armor shop first before we deal with the magic, just because there is a lot of magic to pick up in this town. But first off, go right past it. The armor shop has a couple new items. The copper bracelet or armlet. It's okay. It's 1,000 gold. It's kind of expensive. You can equip it on your white mage, black belt. But I definitely don't recommend it at this point in the game, just because it only provides 4 absorb, which is kind of expensive for 1,000 gold pieces, and I could definitely spend that gold elsewhere, mainly those silver swords. But what you do want to buy here, if you don't have the iron armor, you want to pick that up. At least get the iron shield for your fighter, and because my inventory is full on my fighter, I'll give it to Lexa. You also want to pick up the wooden helmet. They're kind of cheap, and they give a couple extra absorb, but it makes a huge difference for your fighter, so definitely pick those up. And really, you have no excuse not to. If we go over here, we will come to the first magic shop, which is black magic. And I don't know if you noticed in the last episode, there's actually 2 sets of magic shops in this town. One of them will sell level 3 magic, and then the other set will sell level 4 magic. So you kind of want to pick up a couple spells here. First up, level 3 black magic. Quite a good selection here. Well, half of it's good. You want to pick up fire 2 and lightning 2. Not only do they do more damage than their first level iterations, they also target all enemies. So if you come across 9 enemies and you want to get rid of them really quickly, just fire off a fire 2 and bam, you'll do some pretty decent damage, and more than likely at this point you'll wipe them all out. I don't recommend getting hold or lock 2. Pretty useless spells. If you have a black mage, you don't really have a choice. If you have excess gold, pick up one of them, I guess. I'd probably just save it. For my red mage, I'm probably going to give him or her a white magic spell to fill out that level 3 spot, just because there are some pretty good ones. And some of those include, well, all of them are, Cure 2, Harm 2, Anti-Fire, and Heal. All of them are really good spells, and you kind of have a choice between the 3. I tend to get Harm 2, Anti-Fire, and Heal for my white mage, just because Anti-Fire is going to be really, really important in a couple of the upcoming boss fights, and pretty much what it does, it makes it so fire damage doesn't do as much to you. Heal is kind of like a cure spell, except it targets all of your party members, and in the end, it tends to heal more than a single Cure 2 would, so I tend to choose that one over Cure 2, though I'll probably get Cure 2 for my red mage just in case. And Harm 2, just like Harm, does wicked damage to undead monsters, and definitely want to pick that up. But as you can see, 1,500 bucks for each level 3 spell, kind of expensive, especially if you want to get 6 spells for my 2 mages. So what is that? 6 times 1,500, so that's 9,000 gold, plus the 4,000 and another 4,000 from silver swords. So we're looking at 17,000 gold already. Not counting the armor, which I already bought, but in terms of level 4 spells, you thought level 3 was expensive? Check this out. Level 4 spells, 4,000 gold. Crazy amount of gold. We can't use level 4 just yet because we have no spell charges, but eventually you will. Definitely put this kind of lower on the shopping list. It's nice to have these spells, but they're not a priority at this point. In terms of white magic, there's not that many good ones. Pure, as the name implies, is like a pure potion. It cures poison. Really, you can spend 4,000 gold on pure potions alone, and you wouldn't even use all of them throughout the course of the game, so maybe skip on this. But that being said, there's not really that many good level 4 spells, so it wouldn't hurt to have. Fear causes enemies to run away. Kind of nice, I guess. I've never used it really. Anti-Ice, probably the only good spell in terms of level 4 white magic. It reduces ice damage, and it will be useful in a couple of fights. Anti-Mute makes it so your party members can't be muted, but yeah, nothing worth getting. If you head over here to the level 4 black magic shop, we will actually find some better spells in terms of level 4. There's Sleep 2, Fast, Confusion, and Ice 2. Obviously you want to pick up Ice 2. Sleep 2 and Confusion, I would skip. Confusion can kind of make the enemies attack each other, though it's not that great. What you do want to get though is Fast. I can't stress how important this spell is. At this point in the game it's awesome, but even at the end of the game it's awesome. What this spell does, you can use it on one of your party members, and it will increase their hit percentage, meaning that they can get extra hits in. So it means you do a lot more damage. So I definitely recommend picking this up. If you want to pick it up ahead of Ice 2, I wouldn't blame you. I might actually do that if I can squeeze out enough gold. But that begs the question, how the heck do we afford all this gold? Because if we add it up, we're probably looking at way over 20,000 gold pieces, and I only have like 3,000. So yeah, how do we go about getting this gold? There are a couple different ways you can do it. I'm gonna kind of point them out. Some of them are better than others, depending on your experience with this game. Some of them will definitely take longer, but you're looking at maybe an hour and a half of grinding, so I'm just gonna warn you now. But it's definitely worth it. It's gonna make the Marsh Cave a lot easier, actually kind of enjoyable maybe. No, that's going too far. But the first kind of grinding area you want to do is our friends the ogres. If you go to the forest down to the left there, you have a high frequency of encountering them, and so you can get some pretty good gold pretty quickly. It's probably the safest bet. This is what I usually do when I play through it, but it definitely takes longer. One other option, which I've never done before, actually involves the ship. Actually, the next two involve the ship, but this one is a little bit different than the other ones. If you're on your ship and you push the A and B button 55 times, you'll actually open up a mini game. It's kind of like a little puzzle, and for completing it, you'll get 100 gold pieces in this version. So I'll do that really quickly and show you now. And you don't actually have to hit it exactly 55 times. Once you hit that number, the game will kind of bring the screen up. And there we go. So it's kind of a number puzzle. What you want to do, you want to get the numbers lined up from 1 to 15. You can only move one at a time so that you have the blank space. I'm terrible at this puzzle. It takes me way too long to do it, so it's definitely not worth the 100 gold. You can look online for like a puzzle simulator, which will tell you the amount of moves and which moves to make in order to complete it. If you're playing the Dawn of Souls remake, this is more of a viable option, just because you can actually get some items from this, and depending on how fast you do, the better the items will be. I don't know the exact items that you can get, but it's worth trying out. If you're really good at puzzles, or if you just want to change a pace, this is definitely one way to go about doing things. Another kind of way of getting gold involving the ship is random encounters on the ocean. There is one set of enemies called the Kyozers, I think they are called. It's like a blue pirate. You don't encounter them that often, but when you do, they tend to give a heck of a lot of gold. We're talking like 600 plus. So if you can come across a string of them, you can make some gold really quickly. But then again, you might not come across them for a while. You might fight a lot of those Sahagins, there's sharks. Yeah. So sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. It's usually either that or the ogres. But there's one other option, which is kind of more advanced, more risky, but definitely has great rewards. And in order to do that one, we want to head over to Provoca, so I'll see you there. Now that we're back at Provoca, what you want to do is go down this way and head to the east between these mountains, and you'll eventually come to quite a notorious area, which is actually known as the Peninsula of Power. And the reason it has this name is, well, let me show you if we can eventually get to the top of it. I actually don't remember it being this high up there, but as you can see, this nice little peninsula is kind of sticking out. The way this game is designed in terms of random encounters on the world map is that it's kind of broken into these like 32 by 32 sections, and the tip here actually kind of crosses over into a section that we're not supposed to be able to reach at this point in the game, so we come across enemies that are a lot harder, most of which we cannot take on. But if you come across a group of enemies called the Zombles, if you know Fire 2 and Harm 2, you can try taking them on. You can probably do some pretty good damage to them. And, oh, speaking of the devil, Zombles. They're weak to fire, they're weak to holy damage, so you can risk fighting them. They might kill you, very, very likely they will start killing you right away, especially if you're my level. As you fight more and more of them and you level up, they'll get easier, but the rewards for fighting them are pretty huge. Maybe I'll just kind of show you how devastating they can be. I don't even have any harm spells, so that's not good. I don't recommend this for inexperienced players. Just, oh my god, 42 damage already. So yeah, I mean, this is gonna wipe me. I'm doing 1 damage each hit, yeah. Oh, 56, that's pretty good. But definitely not enough to kill these guys, especially if there's 4 of them, and they're doing 52 to my fighter. Yeah, that's not good. Maybe try fighting one at a time. You know, if you come across an encounter with one, you can use Fire 2, Harm 2 to get the experience and the gold. Definitely more risky, but the rewards are pretty great. I'm not going to do this. What I'm going to do off screen, I'm probably going to do ogres just because it's the safe bet, and it's what I usually do. And it's not that bad. I mean, you spend an hour and a half, you should have plenty of gold, and the experience points will definitely be an added bonus. So I think that's going to be it for this episode, and the next episode of Let's Play Final Fantasy 1, I'll have all my equipment, I'll have all my spells, and we should be ready to take on the Cave of the Marsh. But until then, my name is PaperNapkin. Take it easy, folks.